Okay, so this one is piriformis, so I'm going to start on my left side. So you go from you find your sacrum, and you just give a little rub down your sacrum. And then when you get towards the bottom of the sacrum, you might be able to feel the two kind of side edges of it, or you might just at least be able to kind of sense where the two side edges of it are. Yeah. And so then we're going to go onto one side, so going onto the left side, and take like one step or two steps with your finger out to the side. Just give a little rub there, and that can be quite tender. And you might be able to feel the kind of belly of a muscle somewhere underneath there. And sometimes when I rub this one, my hands get tired easily. Yeah, so just a little rub. Yeah, and then switch hands. So right hand is on that point, and the left hand comes across to the greater trochanter, which is this outside of the hip. And if you can't find it, like lean your hip to the side, and you'll see that bone kind of stick out. Yeah, and so when you're touching those 2 points, it's pretty horizontal. Yeah, so the first thing, yeah, that looks good. So the first thing is you put your left foot on the floor, bend the knee like, grease lightning, and you're gonna butt out a cigarette. So in and out, in and out. But now, instead of thinking about the cigarette, think about your left hand touching your greater trochanter. So it slides away from the right hand, and then it slides towards, and it slides away, and it slides towards. Good. So that's the kind of basic movement, but what this muscle is really good for is controlling the pelvis when you're walking, so it doesn't kind of pop out to the side. So the image is that the two hands are on stable posts, and there's an elastic band between them, and you're going to kind of lean into the elastic band and come back up. So you don't kind of stop the movement, you just lean in, bounce up, and you don't have to go to any kind of extreme. It's like lean, bounce, almost if you were just kind of walking and you lean to one side and bounce back. Lean, bounce, lean, bounce. Da, da. Last time. Da, and then stand on your 2 feet, take your hands away. I always like to give a little rub across the wrists after that one because it can be a little tiring on the wrists. And then notice your 2 sides. Now we go again back to the sacrum, and again find that you can go from the coccyx and kind of go up, and you'll feel the little shelf of the bottom of the sacrum, or you can imagine it. And we'll go to the right side. And just take a little step to the right side and give a little rub. And you can also, of course, use a little ball instead of your hand if you like. Well, that's quite nice. Yeah, the ball's really nice actually. A little tap and a little rub. And then let's go to the greater trochanter. So we're touching those 2 points, and if you can't remember where your greater trochanter is, you lean to the side. Oh yeah, there it is. So now we pick up the 1 foot and we go, okay, it's a rotate in, and the greater trochanter kind of widens away and then goes towards, widens away. And so the piriformis is a really interesting muscle because it crosses the pelvis, but it doesn't attach to the pelvis, right? It's sacrum to leg, spine to leg, rather than touching the pelvis. Okay, there we go. And then we stand on 2 feet, and now we're going to have this little play, leaning in and bouncing back. And also, like, just play with, if you kind of lean to the left, you go, oh, okay, I'm not feeling that I'm leaning in between my 2 hands. I'm not feeling I'm leaning into an elastic. So elastic and bounce. Elastic and bounce. And try to find the kind of rhythm of your own muscle. So, is it slow? Is it fast? How far do you go? You can even do like bounce up, bounce up, bounce up. And then I'm doing like a little stepping around in a few different angles as if I'm walking a little bit. I mean, obviously I'm not really walking, but and then when you're ready, pause and stand on your 2 feet and give your wrists a little turn. And notice. Let's just take your 2 balls now and do a little glute tapping. So just around, and you can kind of go one side at a time. You kind of lift up one hip and tap under the glute, and under the other glute towards your sitting bone, and then both. And do a little hip flexion with tapping all the way down, hip flexion. Try to feel the difference in tone. So if you kind of extend the hip joint a little bit, right, the glute goes super gushy. And then when you go into flexion, it goes more taut. And then here it's like jiggle, 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 jiggle. And then more taut. And then let's bend one knee. Yeah, and pick the foot up a little bit behind you and tap as you lift up the leg. But a little bit behind. That's it. And then a little bit in front. And then a little bit behind. And switch legs. Yeah, so glute, bend the knee. Pick the leg up behind you. Pick the leg up in front of you. You can go towards the hamstring if you like. Pick the leg up behind you, a little bit to the hamstring and glute. And then put the leg down. And down both hamstrings. Bend your knees, try to get the hamstrings to jiggle. And back up. And then fronts. To the belly. Take the balls away when you're ready. And just take a couple of breaths. And just for fun, have like a little walk around in a circle